Welcome. We are having a sequential glimpse and chase of the values of 29 reservoirs of sutras and upsutras, together with 7 reservoirs of formats of hypercubes 1 to 7, added by 9 reservoirs of 9 basic elements, 9 numerals. Today, we are going to have a glimpse of the dimensional frames of 1 space to 9 space and the letters 1 are for the Sutra 1, first 2 letters of Sutra 2 and so on, and like that for all the 16 sutras and 13 of sutras. This values range of 1 to 9 is going to give us the range of the 9 vowels. Then we will be having a glimpse of value 6 as solar universe and how the Lagd Yajurved Jyotish Vedanga scripture is the ideal textbook setup of the Vedic mathematics. See the dimensional frames of hypercubes 1 to 9. We know that hypercube 1 has 1 dimension and it is the negative oriented 1 space. Means minus 1 space is in the role of dimension of 1 space. For the present classical and orthodoxical systems, conceptual comprehension is restricting us to the positive dimensional spaces only. The negative dimensional spaces as such are beyond the mathematical domains of classical and orthodox systems. However, the Vedic systems are dealing with not only the positive dimensional spaces but also the zero dimensional space as well as the negative dimensional spaces. 1 space is having minus 1 space in the role of its dimension. As such, the dimensional frame of 1 space, which consists of single negative linear order dimension, takes us to value 1 into minus 1 is equal to minus 1, that is minus 1 raised to power 1. So minus 1 as dimension and as the single dimension is constituting the dimensional frame. Therefore, the setup of dimensional frame of 1 space is having expression minus 1 raised to power 1 as is mentioned in the 3rd column in the 2nd sheet above at the bottom. The organization of this table is starting from hypercube 9 reaching up till hypercube 1. I am starting with hypercube 1 as here there is only a single dimension which makes the entire dimensional frame. Further, as the single dimension of 1 space is a negative 1 space, therefore it is of expression minus 1 raised to power 1. One shall have a pause here, one shall sit comfortably, one shall be face to face with it, and it is with this comprehension, it is with this insight, it is this enlightenment which will help us to be parallel with the organization format values of the Vedic systems. The dimensional frame of 1 space is a single negative linear order dimensional frame. 2 space is having 2 dimensions. Each dimension is a zero space format. Zero space plays the role of dimension of 2 space. Pair of zero space dimensions together constitute the dimensional frame of 2 space. So it gets an expression 0 raised to power 2. 2 multiplied by 0 is 0. However, that means if we have a linear summation value, then the dimensional frame of two space as a pair of dimensions of zero space will give us value 0 plus 0 is equal to 0. However, as the geometric setup of pair of dimensions, it will lead us to value 0 raised to power 2, which also is 0. So it is unique as that in case of one-dimensional frame, may it be an addition format or may it be an a multiplication format. In both cases, the value comes to be -1. Likewise, in respect of two space as well, there are pair of dimensions. Zero space is playing the role of a dimension. So may it be an addition format or may it be an multiplication format, the value in cases will be 0. Therefore, this pair of spaces, that is one space and two space, as far as their dimensional frames are concerned, are leading us to unique classification as that the addition format and multiplication format in both cases of one space and three space leads to same value -1 and 0 respectively for the dimensional frames of one space and two space. Therefore, of these 9 spaces, one space to 9 space, the one space and two space constitute a distinct class, and the second class is of the remaining 7 spaces. That is why here we have taken up 9 spaces, while originally we were proceeding with 7 hypercube format. The spaces 3 to spaces 9, but that is as the domains. There we know that 3 space is having 1 space in the role of dimension, 4 space is having 2 space in the role of dimension, 5 space is having 3 space in the role of dimension, 6 space is having 4 space in the role of dimension, 7 space is having 5 space in the role of dimension, and 8 space is having 6 space in the role of dimension, and 7 space is having in the role of dimension of 9 space. Therefore, hypercubes 1 to 7 are respectively the dimensional frames constituents of hypercube 3 to hypercube 9. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. Now, when we will be visiting the dimensional frame of 3 space, then we know it will be having 3 dimensions, and each dimension is going to be the format for one space. One space in the role of dimension of 3 space makes its dimensional frame as a setup of 3 linear dimensions. As it is a setup of 3 linear dimensions, as such, along the addition format, value of the dimensional frame remains 3, but along the multiplication format, the value comes to be 1 raised to power 3, which is 1. It is here where we have to have a blissful visit, as the multiplication format is leading us to value 1, while the addition format is leading us to value 3. See, we have 3 dimensions and 1 space in the role of a dimension. 1 space is in the role of a dimension, and 3 space is going to be the domain. Therefore, this 3 space has a domain and 1 space has dimension on the one hand, and value 3 along the addition format and value 1 along the multiplication format on the other hand. It is this feature with respect to the 3 dimension which deserves to be appreciated. The 4 space is a spatial order space. 4 space has 4 dimensions. Each dimension is a spatial order. 2 space is playing the role of a dimension of 4 space. So dimensional frame of 4 space is going to be a setup of 4 plus 2 is equal to 8 along the addition format, and 2 raised to power 4 along the multiplication format. See, the space of the domain is having a 2 space as dimension. The dimensional frame value is 8 along the addition format and 16 along the geometric format. So values pair 4 and 2, 4 is double of 2. And the other hand, the values pair is 8 and 16 is double of 8. 5 space is a solid order space. 5 space is having 3 space in the role of a dimension. There are 5 solid dimensions which constitute a dimensional frame of 5 space. Therefore, 5 into 3 is equal to 15 and 3 raised to power of 5. See how big difference is going to be while the chase is going to be along the addition format of value 15 and along the multiplication format as of value 3 raised to power 5. Step ahead, when we are in a 6 space, then we know 4 space is to play a role of dimension of a 6 space. There are going to be 6 creative dimensions. 4 space in the role of dimension is designated as a creative dimension. Space has 6 dimensions. Each dimension is a creative dimension. As such, along the addition format, we are having value 6 into 4 is 24, while along the multiplication format, this value is going to be 4 raised to power 6. Step ahead, hypercube 7. 7 space has 7 dimensions. Each dimension is a 5 space, which is a transcendental dimensional order. Therefore, 7 space is having 5 space in the role of dimension. In other words, unity state space means hypercube 7, that is pole star, is having 7 transcendental dimensions, that is 5 space in the role of a dimension. One shall have a pause here and take note that pole star as a unity state space as of hypercube 7 format is having a dimensional frame of 7 transcendental dimensions. 5 space in the role of dimension of 7 space is the feature which takes us to value 7 into 5 is 35 for the addition format and 5 raised to power 7 as of a multiplication format. A step ahead, 8 space is having 6 space in the role of a dimension. 8 space is Asht Prakriti. It is 8-fold nature. It is a nature. Nature as a space is accepting 6 space as a dimension. 6 space is a self-referral space. That means the nature, 8-fold nature, is having as many as 8 self-referral dimensions. This takes us to value 8 into 6 is 48 on a division format, and 6 raised to power 8 on a multiplication format. And finally, in 9 space, in Brahman space, there are 9 dimensions. Each dimension is of the order of 7 space. So unity state dimensional order. 9 into 7, 63 is the addition format value, while 7 raised to power 9 is the multiplication format feature. As such, when we have already approached the hypercubes as fourfold manifestation layers, so in that context, when we will see that their dimensional frames are of such setup and values, then to have a comprehensive view of the geometric 1 space to 9 space formats for the chase as per the Vedic order, we have to comprehend, appreciate, and imbibe all these values. Now, let us visit the value of the Ganita Sutras. See, if we are having a text of Ganita Sutras before us, and if we reach at the sequence of the first letter for the first sutra, first 2 letters of second sutra, first 3 letters of the third sutra, first 4 letters of fourth sutra, and so on up till 16 letters of the 16th sutra, then it will bring us face to face with TC values tabulations, which in case of the first sutra will be value 6 as the TC value of the first letter. For the second sutra, it will be value 10 as the TC value of the pair of letters of the second sutra. In the next column, third column, we are having the total TC value. So up till first sutra, value will remain 6, but up till the second sutra, it will be 6 plus 10 is equal to 16. Like that, when we will have a total change from Sutra 1 to Sutra 16, we see the total value coming to be the 519. It would be blissful to take note that the total letters of the Ganita Sutras and Upsutras are 519. One shall sit comfortably and permit the mind to be face to face with this organization format features of the text of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras and see how sequentially as first letter, first pair of letters, first triple letters and so on, and reaching up till 16 letters of the text of the 16th sutra, it gives a complete coverage of entire mathematical domain of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras. See, this mathematical domain is so rich as that it will be helping us have a comprehensive view of our existence phenomenon within our solar universe, including within a human frame. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with the intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems and order shall be blissfully face to face with the values of the Ganita Sutras. A step ahead, one shall be parallel with such feature of single letter, pair of letters, and until 13 letters of the 13 sutras. And when we will be having a tabulation of the TC values for these 13 letters, the end reach value will be 323. Have a pause and note that the total letters of Ganita Sutras are 283 and this value is 323. The difference value is 40. However, we are well acquainted as that the sixth sutra is having of its 8 letters, anurupe, within brackets, that is in unmanifest form. So with this addition, the gap value is going to be 48 and this value 48 is of organization 2 into 4 into 6 which is of the dimensional frame of a 6 space and it is here where we can further have a pause and now reach at the basic value of 9 basic numerals. The value which we are focusing today with respect to 9 numbers are 1 to 9 as 9 vowels. There are 9 vowels. So value 1, number 1 is the TC value of the first vowel. Value 2 as basic number 2 is the TC value of the second vowel. Like that, the ninth number as value 9 is the TC value of the ninth vowel. Now see, these vowels are the dimensional frames. See, 1 as a dimensional frame will be taking us to -1 as its dimension and -3 as its dimension of dimension. In the table it is incorrectly mentioned 3, it is -3. So the product of 1, -1 and -3 is going to be 3. This is called the transcendence value. This transcendence value. From one space, we are going to dimension -1, and from this -1, we're reaching a dimension of dimension, which is going to be value 3. So this is called a transcendence value. If we reach at the transcendence values of all one space to 9 space, then see the sequential values are going to be 3, 0, -3, 0, 15, 48, 105, 192, and 100. This is going to be 315. Here it is also incorrect. Now, this feature, this value, that there happens to be a transcendence within the dimensional domains through its dimensional frames. It is this concept which is of values much beyond the values of our classical and orthodox systems. Therefore, the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with the Vedic systems shall approach and comprehend and imbibe the values of the nine basic numerals as we have appreciated the values of the nine hypercube formulas and 29 sutras and sutras. It is in this background that now we shall have a further visit to value 6, which is Surya, which is hypercube 6, which is of 13 versions. And this is parallel to TCV of a chit, a consciousness. So the Vedic knowledge is along the consciousness base. While we will be through this discipline of knowledge of Vedic mathematics in schools, colleges, and universities, we shall be parallel with the development of the intelligence field along a consciousness format. It is this what is the aim. This is what we are going to have the ultimate attainment while being through this stage. Therefore, now naturally the question will arise that in what state are the textbooks of Vedic mathematics? Let us have an illustrative case of Lagad, Yajurved, Jyotish Vedant. Now, this is the Vedic text. This is the text which has reached us. This is the text of values and format of which standards we have to reach. Therefore, today I am just taking up the first four shlokas of this scripture, and I am taking up these four shlokas simply as these are designated as per as the knowledge of the text of the sutras is concerned. This will be taken up subsequently. I am intentionally taking up the title of shloka 1, which is mentioned as a paranam, means we have to have a salute for the creator. We are entering the domain for comprehension and imbibing the creation. As there is a creation, there is a creator. Therefore, when any scholar, any student, any sadhaka approaches the Vedic knowledge domain regarding the creations, then naturally one is to, at the outset, and first of all, has to salute, has to have a solemn respect for the Creator, as for every creation, there is a creator. We are going to be the students of the creations of the creator. Therefore, we shall salute the creator. As such, the message is that whenever we will be attempting the textbooks, then certainly at the outset, we will be defining what is the domain and how the original exponents of the domain are to be saluted. It would be continuity. This Vedic system of preserving the sanctity of knowledge from generation to generation. Sutra second is titled as Pratigya. It means a solemn determination, solemn decision. One who is having desire to be parallel with the Vedic systems. One who wants to be student, sadhak, scholar of a Vedic system or any discipline of knowledge, he has to have pratigya. He has to have a solemn determination, a solemn decision as that it shall be following the creation, the creation's way, creator, the creator's way. So, unless and until we have a solemn determination to follow the system way, the system is not going to be within the comprehension of the intelligence of the sadhakas. Now see the shloka third. It is titled as Avashkata, which means necessity. Therefore, the third feature of the text is to make it explicit at the outset as to what is the necessity of this discipline of knowledge, why one shall be through this knowledge. Then it is this appreciation of the necessity, then naturally the interest will follow. And once there is a Shraddha, once there is a faith, once there is a Nishtha, then the knowledge naturally will be beautifully, blissfully coming within the comprehension of the intelligence of the concerned sadhaka. The fourth shloka is titled as Prashansa. Have to appreciate, we have to appreciate the necessity being fulfilled by the discipline of knowledge. So these are the four principles, the first principles for any textbook. So any Vedic mathematics textbook is to be of these features. All those authors who want to be authors of Vedic mathematics books have to appreciate and have to follow this format for the domain of knowledge. Now, from next session onwards, we shall be having specific classification of the domains of Vedic mathematics, and we'll be changing it sequentially. Thank you very much.